our realtors are wonderful. They talk to the clients and kind of prep them, and they explain to them how I work when I come in. And one of the things that they'll say is, make sure you pull up all the rugs, because she's going to tell you to get rid of all the rugs. See, now this is where understanding your region is important, because here in this area, many of our homes are very traditional. And so the floor plans are actually quite chopped up. Now, I've lived in Florida and California, and in both of those floor plans, it's wide open spaces. And in those circumstances, I might recommend that you use a rug to help anchor the particular space that you have in this big, large room. But when you have rooms that are chopped up already, and that also feature the hardwoods, which are so, people seek them out here in my market, to cover them up, it's just a shame. I mean, I look at it as, take those rugs up, because the rugs actually make the room look cozier, which is real estate speak for small, right? And so they will do that, or their color is so incredibly bright and captivating that your eye goes to the rug and you notice the rug, you're not noticing the money of the room, which is what we do as stagers. We want to draw attention to the space, you know, with that. So most of the time I will say rugs up. Let's show off those floors so people can see the condition of what they're buying, as well as so that they can get the nice, bright, just the beautiful wood. But once in a while, I do use a rug. But Tori, you cracked me up when you when you raised your eyebrows. So tell me, is New York pro or con rugs?
I'm all about a good rug, let me tell you.
Okay.
And usually they are these white shag rugs still, which is, you know, starting to get played out. We're definitely not on traditional, you know, regular traditional rugs. So it's gotta have, it just needs to be lush, like luxurious and thick, and usually just cream, which doesn't really exist in when you're going to live in the house. So those are just usually in vacants. But if you look at anybody's vacants, their pictures in the New York area, that's all that they're usually highlighting. Karen Jensen Graves is saying she likes rugs too, but not in bathrooms. And I totally agree with you there. Karen's also saying, of course, everything we do is situation or house specific. If the rugs aren't nice or are too distracting, then I would pick them up. Yes, totally agree with that. I like to pick my rugs. I like them to be neutral, unless, you know, I want to put like some type of pattern in there. I usually don't go crazy with rugs. You got to also make sure they're the same, you know, they fit the size of the room. And carpets, no, those got to go. I'm always ripping up carpets. Shelly Barn Dollar, I hope I said that right, Shelly. We try to use very neutral rugs to anchor the room. I agree. I think a rug should be used to anchor a room. It should be used to anchor furniture and really create that conversation area. But like Bobby was saying, we have a lot of open layouts in my area, so we need that to actually create those spaces.
Gotcha.
Tracy?
I would agree with everything you guys said. For me, it has to be the right size. No rugs on carpet, no rugs in bathrooms. Neutral, or definitely sometimes we do something with like a really large graphic print, depending on who our target market is. So for me, it's who's my demographic, who am I marketing to, and then I gear the rugs towards those. But we're in the Midwest, it's cold here. We tend to, the hard surfaces, we tend to use rugs, but the rug being too small definitely has to go. So when I go through, or the dated rugs, if I'm doing an occupied and it has dated rugs, the super traditional Oriental rugs, we tend to have those go. The pinks and baby blue rugs, that kind of stuff, those all go. But if we're staging wood floors, we'll definitely use the rug to anchor the seating in the living room, great room area, things like that.
I've even used a rug, like a pattern rug, on top of a white wall-to-wall carpet, just to kind of break it up.
Yeah.
Add some color and just make it playful. So you don't always have to go the traditional route or the route that you think is best suited for you. If you do something different and unique, your house could still be standing out.
On the decorating side, you know, a carpet on an area carpet on a rug, what do you think about on the decorating side? Would that be something that you guys would frown upon still, or is it really up to the client or the like of the, you know, because it's decorating?
Well, I look at lifestyle, because if you live, let's say rough, if you have a rough life, like if you've got, I had sons, and so having boys in the house, and we know that everybody's going to be hanging out in front, you know, on the sofa, watching the big game and all that kind of stuff. Having a carpet, or excuse me, a rug over a carpet can be wisdom. Or if you happen to have pets and things like that.
You're allowed my house then.
Yeah. So that's for me, that's just a different experience. But because sometimes you need to protect your investment, which is the wall-to-wall carpeting. And fortunately, you know, there are rugs now that are made out of the polypropylene, even that you can drop Kool-Aid and everything on that, and you can wipe it right up. So it just kind of depends on your lifestyle, I would think.
Yeah, I tend to, like, I have a rug underneath my dining room. Like, my dining room and my living room are together, you know, the way that it's like, but it's wall-to-wall carpet. And so I do have both the rug that's around the area of my living room and then one that's underneath the dining room table. The one under the dining room table is not for, it really wasn't for look or anything like that. It was for protection. I have, you know, grandbabies and teenagers, so it just protects the area underneath, and it's easy to replace a, you know, a $200, $300 rug, but to have to replace the carpet all the time, that really is the big reason I do it.
I've done it just to break up those areas too, and to make it, you know, to bring out some different textures and some different colors. So it's not all just one wall-to-wall carpet, the big major layout.
Shelly made a note here, Shelly Barndollar. She says, oh my gosh, please use the right size rug for your furniture and room. Don't know how many times I see this. So let's have the rug talk.
Okay, sure.
So who loves to do the rugs? And you get, because apparently, I mean, I'm all to the staging side. So give the room talk, the rug talk.
The do's and the don'ts. Tracy, do's and don'ts for size.
It has to, like, if you're doing it in the dining room, it has to be large enough for when the chairs are pulled out that the legs are still on it. Mm-hmm. And I so often see where the rug is the size basically of the table, and then the front feet, when the chairs are pushed in, are on the rug, and the back feet are off the rug. And that's even with it pushed in. I just saw that one the other day. So it's really important that the rug is large enough that when you're seated at the table, that the chairs are all still on the rug and you're not falling off. And then for seating areas, at least all the front feet should all be able to get onto the rug. So you've grouped it all together. At least that's my take. Tori, you got another opinion?
I would agree with that. You can also go the opposite way. So if you have, let's say, smaller rooms, you can make it so the rug is usually about 3 feet off of the wall, all the way around, basically. So it's giving you the right, you know, footage all the way around.
So do you guys ever do where the furniture are like satellites around the edge of the rug, and you just have it, you know, fill the center with a coffee table, and you don't have any legs on the rugs?
No.
I always have legs on the rugs.
Yeah. You want that rug to like fade into the background underneath the furniture, because to just stick a rug under your coffee table, it's not really doing anything.
Well, I mean, a lot of times that's what I'll see, because it's funny, you know, size matters. It really does. So what I'm looking at,
everything. It matters in everything.
Exactly. Because what I look at as I'll go in, and I think that people many times they operate out of fear, and I like to always think of fear, false evidence appearing real. They're afraid to buy a larger rug. They're afraid to buy scale. So what they do is they go and they buy tiny, and then they'll put it into a big space, and they don't know why something just doesn't feel right, and they're not sure why, and it's because they didn't get big enough. So I just always want to encourage people, you know, when it comes to two things, actually rugs, because on my other side I do occasionally recommend the rugs, but rugs and art and accessories, have a tendency to go a bit to the larger side, because the natural tendency is to get a bunch of little small things, and I call that room dandruff. So whether it's your, you know, your rug, room dandruff, or whatever, just think bigger, and I think in the end you'll be happier. Don't you guys think?
And I think just
Go ahead.
measure before you go shopping. Take your measurements, get the sizes that you need that are going to fit that space.
Exactly.
It's pretty simple.
Exactly. Okay, Yolanda has a comment. She said, what she's seen lately in some photos is the rug kind of catty corner under the living room table. Looks kind of odd. She wants to know if this is a trend. I've not seen that.
Not for me. Is it a trend any place? No, I mean.
Well, I'll say this. I used a catty corner rug once. That's just because the fireplace was catty cornered into that corner.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept the rug the same way as the fireplace, but then the actual couch was lined up against that adjacent wall. So that's basically the only time I will.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense, because when you have an odd angle like that, you want to make sure you have an opposite one to balance it, right? So you use, in that particular case, instead of using furniture, you use, and probably there was a traffic flow issue not to use furniture, right? Because that would be the time where, you know, you can't use the furniture to parallel it because the traffic flow would be broken, right?
Exactly.
So your rug allowed it to still have those lines where, yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely.
Oh, somebody too was asking, Shelley was asking, what about hides? How, you know, anybody still use them? The hides for the floor? That was never really a thing here. So, I mean, there were a couple kind of ranch style, more ranch style homes and things, but hides, I think it's regional.
I mean, I know in New York, they're still used quite often, but they're almost used over another rug. So maybe like a Cecil rug and then the hide over it. Also those faux fur rugs. So those are just like an added accent piece, like on top of the floor, on top of what's already existing there, or on top of another rug. They're usually just not there by themselves.
Yeah, I've seen it a lot lately too. I've seen that even when they were first coming into style, into trend, on trend, you know, they were, you know, people they weren't being used, embraced a lot, but the ones that were doing it really well. And then there were some pieces that were being made out of that same material, so that they were, you know, being used in like for benches and stuff like that as well. I saw that happening, but lately I've really seen a lot more of the hides actually than I did when I thought it was in trend, or when it was supposed to be in trend. So I've seen more and more.
I think zebra is coming back.
No, really? Okay.
But Shelley, with hides, you're from Texas, so I would assume that at least one room in the house has a hide. I mean, that's what I would assume. I don't know.
Well, would it appeal? It's about appealing to the demographic, right? So is that something that's appealing to Texas? Is that something, I mean, from Canada, you know, maybe, you know, in the colder places and up north and stuff. And I have seen some done in some luxury homes. A lot of luxury homes in Toronto, I have been seeing some pieces, you know, come out. So I pay attention, like I tend to watch everybody's portfolio. From being a graphic designer, watching the, you know, doing their websites, to now I'm watching for the magazines, and also just, you know, just paying attention inside the groups and whatnot. That's where I usually get most of my information from you guys, right? So when I see some of the luxury pieces, I see the hides in some of the luxury pieces. I did see some controversy about someone having challenge with a client who thought that the hide was a luxury client, and the hide was not an okay thing, you know, so they didn't feel it was a good like it was not a upscale enough for their home or whatnot. So that was one controversy I've seen in one of the groups in the Home Stagers group, I think.
You know, here in our area, it's interesting. The triangle is made up of, well, you know, there's Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill, and there's a bunch of other wonderful cities right in this area. But there are certain areas of town I would never dream of bringing a hide into, because it's just not my demographic. We have a very strong, you know, animal rights, you know, organizations and things, and so it's just not right. However, when we go down south, we have ranchers. and we have a different lifestyle, and we have different architecture. And so I get a little flavor all over. So I may use one down south in the area, but I wouldn't necessarily use it in one of the other city areas. Or if we do, we always make sure that it's synthetic. So it just kind of depends too. All of that stuff really matters because, again, different regions of the country, different regions of the world see those same elements differently.